You know, I was a bit skeptical going into this episode. Excited, but skeptical. Now, I'm glad I was, because I was very pleasantly surprised. This episode of Doctor Who was amazing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my first viewing reaction to Doctor Who, The Power of the Doctor, the BBC Centenary Special, and the final story for Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. And as you can see, I am dressed for the occasion. So, this episode was incredible. It's absolutely amazing. I'm not sure how to describe it right now. I'm sure after a few more rewatches, I'll be able to discuss the plot more, and I'm definitely going to go more into spoilers when I do the review. I won't go too spoilery here because this is the reaction and want to give people a chance to watch the episode because it's brilliant. Whew. And also, my opinion might change over the rewatches. This is just right off the bat. But wow, that was incredible. I don't know if I felt this wow by watching an episode since the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, which is still my favourite episode of the show. And just coming off that excitement and joy and wonder, I suppose because it's celebrating the BBC Centenary, it's history of Doctor Who, and prepping us for next year's 60th anniversary celebrations. So I guess that makes a lot of sense. And yes, there was lots of references to classic and new Who stuff, but quite a lot of it was so brilliant, and quite a bit ties into the story. And it was great seeing a couple of returning characters, and just oh my gosh, this story was so good. Oh yeah, the story. It's a good story. It's a pretty good story. I know many of us aren't so keen on Chris Chibnall's writing, and yeah, he does fall into his traps of some of his tropes, like lots and lots of dialogue, over exposition, and so forth. Yeah, he does fall into his traps. I'm not gonna 100% say he doesn't completely learn. He's still got his traps there that his writing style has, but it actually works pretty well for the context it's used in. I think pretty well for the exposition, how it's handled, compared to say some of his previous or other previous episodes of the 13th Doctor's era, where she can maybe even she and the other characters can over exposize and state the obvious things and so forth. Here, it's not so bad. I think the expositions works as well as it needs to be. But yeah, the story is it's a pretty good story. It might be seen a little complicated, but it actually works all pretty well together in the end, and it's great. And we also have some great character moments. I know some people might think they're some character appearances are just for fan service, but I think, like with Captain Jack in Revolution of the Daleks, is it Revolution? Yeah, it kind of works into the plot. Actually, I think it's better than that. I think it works better because with Jack and Kate in Fugitive of the Jadoon and Kate in Flux, it was kind of like a glorified cameos. But this time round, I think Ace and Tegan work really well into the story as characters, as does a couple of other faces who pop up to help out, which was incredible. Some great faces, and a couple of others who just pop along to say hi as well. So that was pretty cool. For some characters, it's the first time for a while we've seen them. But again, I won't go too much into spoilers because that's for the review. That's for more in-depth discussions and with more time. Whilst here, this is just off the bat thinking, but remain spoiler low key. Which is why I'm not going to say who appears at the end of the regeneration, but I will say it's one of the ones we were expecting. Like, the three choices were Ncuti Gatwa, David Tennant, or they were going to cut midway through. I'm going to say it's one of those three, and I'm so glad that one of the other two was not the case. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out with the next episode, when that comes around next year. But yeah, oh, wow. I, yeah, I'm kind of struggling to kind of get much out besides pure excitement right now. Like I said, this is probably the most excited I've ever been to see an episode since the 50th anniversary. As great as of time I've had with most of the other episodes since, but yeah, this is one of my most exciting, one of the most exciting stories, and as a fan, one of the most um, thrilling and engaging and um, honorary. I know a lot of people have been put off about by Chibnall because of the whole timeless child stuff, and I will say now that that doesn't really get touched upon here, apart from a few, well, one or two things maybe. That I won't, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but one or two things in relation to that. But in terms of the actual arc, yeah, no, that's going to be left a mystery, as Chibnall said in that interview a few months ago for Doctor Who magazine, which is disappointing, and yeah, definitely makes the whole point of it worse. Yeah, I was waiting to see how this was handled before I made the final decision, and yeah, Timeless Child stuff, not a fan. Even less so now, but that's a discussion for another day. Maybe the reflection video where we'll talk about the how this story has also impacted the era. Um, in a way, and the review will be the critical point, discussing it and my personal thoughts and opinions after a few more viewings in more critical terms. But right now, I'm just so excited. I was just so excited and so elated. This was such a brilliant episode. So fun, a good story, well executed. Many of the trappings from the previous few years are not. It doesn't fall into the trap so much. A few traps, but it works pretty well. I think this might even be my favourite Chris Chibnall scripted episode. And right now, I'm pretty damn close to putting it as my favourite 13th Doctor story. This might not stay. This might not stick. When we get to the review, it might not stick. So you could probably guess what I'm thinking of giving the score for this one right about now. But I'm not going to hold it to that until I get to the review and I solidify my thoughts and opinions on the episode. But damn it, I really want to say this is my favourite 13th Doctor story. But like I said, that this is just right off that. This is right off the energy, the adrenaline from the story. And like I said, I'll make final decisions when I have. I may need to do 3 viewings minimum before the review, so another 2 before that. I'll maybe do the reflection after the second one, perhaps. But yeah, wow, the sheer excitement, sheer adrenaline, sheer brilliance. This was so good, and it wrapped up the story it was telling. It's a condensed single story. I mean, maybe if it was a regular story, if it wasn't 90 minutes, it might be a 2-parter. But this was just absolutely spectacular. Oh, and it worked so well. Also, massive shout outs to Sacha Dhawan as the Master. He's brilliant. Sometimes his Master does, like in the Series 12 finale, lean back into the very similar to John Sim camp. Not camp, but what I mean is similarities. The Sim Master and the Dhawan Master have very similar traits with each other, and he does kind of lean back into that. But there is this one scene I really love where the Master, because he's Rasputin in this episode, he literally dances to Boney M's Rasputin, and that is so in character. Well, it certainly would definitely reminds me to how Sim's Master would dance to Voodoo Child and I Can't Decide. Can't remember who sung the former, but Scissor Sisters sung the latter. Yeah, definitely felt very in character based on a previous incarnations. And he also had the hypnosis, the eyes that Roger Delgado's Master used to do, and I think Anthony Amy to a lesser extent, and also to a lesser extent Eric Roberts. And he also continues to have the tissue compressor unit, so that's continuing the trait he had in Series 12, which is reference to the classic series. Wow, but yeah, wow, this was incredible. Absolutely amazing. Also, brilliant seeing the Cybermen and the Daleks and the Master all together. I will say that they all do work together in this story. I will say that. And it's the first time all three of them are working together in the same story. They have all appeared in the same story before in the Five Doctors, but the Daleks, or Dalek, never interacted with either the Cybermen or the Master. And two of the three, sorry. Um, well, not two of the three. I mean, there have been stories with two of these um, foes working together or appearing in the same story. Like, so the Daleks and the Cybermen not really working together, but they appeared in the Army of Ghosts and Doomsday together. I guess you could say they worked together in Pandorica Opens as well, technically. And then Master and Cyberman team ups have been every other series finale since Series 8, the even ones. So I would not be surprised if Series 14's finale featured a new Master teaming up with a new breed of Cybermen. But I'm sure it'll be something different next time round. And of course, Daleks and Masters since Frontier in Space. That was one team up there, and yeah, they teamed up in that story. I think that's the only other example. The Dalek voices did appear in the TV movie, but we didn't see them on screen, and I'm only going by television stories, not expanded media. But yeah, that was brilliant. Ace and Tegan were brilliant in this story, especially Ace. Sophie Aldred and Janet Fielding were amazing, and Kate Stewart gets more to do in this episode than she did in Flux, like Captain Jack did in Revolution of the Daleks. I will say, if there is one weak link from the main cast, is that John Bishop isn't in it enough. He's in at the start, and then he's not in the whole episode. He's only like in bits of it. But he's real joy to see on screen whenever he is. As is Graham, and he's definitely in the episode. It takes a bit of time for him to come in, but he gets there, and he's brilliant. Bradley Walsh, John Bishop, they're amazing. That's all I'm going to say in terms of main cast, but guest characters also pretty fun for the few minutes they have on screen, or pretty good. And the way the episode ties bits and bobs together is really good. I like how this one's that actually handles tying in its many little plot points together, as opposed to some of the other stories like the Series 12 finale and Flux have done. I think this one, with just 90 minutes, or 89 rather, in just 89 minutes, it's got one story to tell. It's going to be a big one. It's going to have little ones spread across, but they all have to tie up at the end of this one. No more loose ends. This is it. And thank Chibnall and RTD. Thank Rassilon. There we go. Thank Rassilon. It works. It works really well. It's a solid plot. Like I said, it might be a little bit confusing to begin with, but once you get towards the end, it kind of makes sense. I will say maybe it does wrap up a little bit quickly, in a way, because we've had so much going on for like an hour and 20 minutes, and it's got to quickly wrap up before we get to the goodbyes and the regeneration. But it's still really brilliant. It's still a really great story, and the wrap up itself is handled pretty well, even if it's a tad bit quickly. It's like one of those classic Who stories where they spend a lot of time building up or playing around with the plot, and then realize, oh shit, we've only got like 10 minutes to finish this episode in the last one. Done. I think that was something me and the Universals discussed when we went to see Abominable Snowmen last month, was that it spent 5 and a bit episodes set up, playing around, doing the story, so forth, etc., and then realised, oh shit, we've only got like 10 minutes to wrap this story up. Let's wrap it up. Kind of a deal. But I guess if we're paying tribute to Doctor Who across the 59 years, almost nearly 60 next year, then I guess the story's structure is going to be very much like honouring some of those past stories in a way, especially as this one is close to being roughly what would be a 4-parter of a classic series story, or a 2-parter of a modern series story. Yeah, it's the longest or second longest individual episode after the 5 Doctors. The TV movie is 89 minutes in the American version, but because it's sped up and a little bit shorter in the UK version, I'm going to say that's third, if it was to be boiled down to a specific ranking. But whew, it was just so incredible. Oh my god, that was amazing. like I said, I'm struggling to actually get specific details out right now because of the adrenaline. But I will discuss this episode more, as I have promised. I will be discussing this episode more. I'm going to do the reflection video as part of the 13th Doctor Reflections. I'm going to aim to do that after the second viewing. I will not be taking part in a Universal's review because we've basically settled on just one person doing it, and it was me and one other guy were up for it because some of the others weren't. And the other guy is like, "Oh, is it right to do it on my own?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, all right, then I'm not going to fight you for it." So Benny Winderbank will be doing that for Universal, so check that out. But it does leave me free to do my own big review on this channel. So you guys, Universal subscribers loss is your gain, except it's not their loss because you guys should totally subscribe to Universals, and they should totally come and subscribe over here. So it's everybody's gain. Actually, so if you do that, then you gain a lot. Okay, self-promotion out of the way. But yeah, so I'll do the reflection, I'll do the big review, and of course I've got ranking videos to come as well. But yeah, I will totally be talking about this story at least 2 more times, plus rankings. The ranking of these 3 specials as a kind of a wrap-up of this mini-series, and also an updated top 10 stories of the 13th Doctor's era, now including Series 13 and specials. Which I can guarantee of having at least one of these 3 specials on there. It might even include 2 of them. Oh, not Legend of the Sea Devils. No, not that one. No, one or the other, or both of the other 2. But yeah, you could probably guess which one may or may not be on that list just by the reaction to that. Okay, I'm not gonna be vague. Eve of the Daleks is on the list at the moment, and considering if my opinions on this story stay pretty high, so will this one. But at the moment, yes, it is. Depending on how I am in the review, we'll see how it goes. But definitely right now. But when the actual ranking comes, I'll confirm it or confirm what it is. But yeah, those are what's coming up next, as well as the other 2 parts of the reflection video for Redacted, which I consider to be Jodie Whittaker's 4th series, excluding the mini-series. And like how, for example, Big Finish's 9th Doctor ones are his 2nd and 3rd series, respectively. So, yeah, and then the conclusion. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to say for that, but I'm sure I'll work something out. Yeah, and then rankings, and maybe next year we'll dive into a few more rankings. Thankfully, I've got a different job now, so I've got a bit more time to do these when I can. So I'll try and do a bit more over the next couple months, and in the build up to the 60th anniversary, some more rankings. Might eventually get around to the spin-off reviews, but we'll see how that goes. Focus definitely on this episode and the rankings. Yeah, so that's the update in terms of some of the videos regarding this story. But yeah, I'll definitely do the review here, and you should totally check out Benny's on Universals when he does that. And I'll do the reflection and how it affects the 13th Doctor's era as a whole and ties in. I'll probably go into a bit more spoilers on that one, like I did for the other episodes, and then the big one. The last one I was going to say, the big one, and as well as the rankings, will go into major spoiler territory. So, minor spoilers here. Kind of on the fence for the reflection. I'll discuss it more. And then the full review is carte blanche. But by that point, hopefully more people will have checked out the episode. And a lot more will have gone online, of course. So, yeah, but so by that point, it's probably more of a safe zone. Depending when it goes. I'm hoping to do it within the next 2 weeks, so stay tuned. And then rankings after that, coming into November. Same for the reflection videos, but like I said, we'll see how it goes. So the summarize opinions. I bloody love this episode. It was absolutely amazing. Made me a massive fangasm a lot throughout the episode. Best experience I've had watching an episode since the day of the Doctor. Excuse me. And yeah, opinion may change or alter over the next couple of days. If I think about it and or rewatches, and I'll give my solidified opinion in the review with a oh, this is what I think about it now opinion in the reflection. But right here, right now, this is one of my favourite episodes of the 13th Doctor's era, and what a fantastic one to end on. It's easily, in my opinion, at this moment in time, it could change later on, but at this moment in time, this is easily the best regeneration story since the Ninth Doctor's in Series 1, 2005, Bad Wolf Parting Ways. I still like that one more. That's still the best one of the new series, but since then, I found that the regeneration stories get less good over time, just like how they post-regeneration stories in the 80s got less good as they went along. Like I might even start from Spearhead from Space, actually, on that term, in that case as well, actually. So the post-regeneration stories, the classic series, they didn't get as good. They weren't as great as the regeneration ones that preceding them. With the possibility of exceptional robot and Planet of Spiders, and Spearhead from Space, the War Games. But okay, 80s in that case. But certainly, I think the post-regeneration stories got weaker over time, and I found that's the case with the regeneration stories in this era. That starts off with Babel Parting the Ways, which is awesome. End of Time, which is very divisive. Personally, I like it, so I think it's pretty cool, but it has its odd issues here. To be honest, that is a pretty epic story too, in a way. Then Time of the Doctor, which is less liked, I think, but not as divisive. I find it good and a good send-off for Matt Smith, but I think they could have been handled a bit more. I think it should have been longer and or a two-parter, and it should have focused more on his finale and less of the cringy jokes that they have. And they're trying to do something similar to this episode, but with 30 less minutes, and it kind of doesn't quite work as well. But it is a pretty good last story about 11 himself, so that's why I thought that it did tribute his Doctor pretty well. So it could have been better, but it was still a pretty decent, pretty good final story for him. It's just maybe some of the stuff around it could have been fixed a bit better. And then Twice Upon a Time was absolutely awful. There was a few good moments here and there, but the episode was pretty bad. And then this one, wow, that was brilliant. Like I said, opinion may differ over the course of the days over time afterwards and further viewings, but right now I'm just ecstatic. That was just absolutely amazing. And can't wait to see what happens next with the next episode coming next year at some point. But yeah, God, that was amazing. Whew, I know I'm just using buzzwords, but I'm just coming off the adrenaline. And like I said, I'll go more in depth in the reflection and even more so in the review if I remember to. But okay, yeah. Comment down below your opinions of this episode from a first viewing point of view, because I don't think there's been enough time for everybody to rewatch this episode at time of recording. Although if you have been able to rewatch the episode and then check this video out or come back to the video afterwards, then please do say how you felt after multiple viewings or however many. And yeah, please keep all comments civil. I know those Not My Doctor scums are still about the internet, and they're not going to go away just because David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa will be the Doctors next year. Ooh, spoilers! Except we already knew that. Like I said, I'm not going to give away the ending. But yeah, just because David Tennant's back next year and Ncuti Gatwa will be the Doctor does not mean the Not My Doctor is going to go away. In fact, the ones who are racist are probably going to double down when Gatwa comes over. One negative thing of this video that wasn't a nitpick. But yeah. But then again, other parts of the fandom are absolutely wonderful people. And I hope many of you guys, or whether you're fans or not of the show, are hopefully wonderful people. And with that, I say thank you so much for watching this rambly reaction video that probably didn't give you too much information about the episode, or even that much about my opinions, apart from wow, I love this right about now. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Probably on a video about this story. Probably the reflection. Or whatever it might happen. Whatever comes along. See you guys next time. Goodbye.